Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas Armstrong, and I'm creating a series of short videos to introduce my new book, The Power of Neurodiversity: Unleashing the Advantages of Your Neurodivergent Brain. This is a completely revised and updated second edition of a book that I originally wrote in 2010. The topic of the video today is positive career matches for people with dyslexia. In another video, and also in a separate chapter in my book, I talk about niche construction, which is a concept from evolutionary biology, and it describes animals that create their own environments that help them to survive. And you can think of numerous examples, from a bird building a nest to a spider spinning a web to a bee building a hive, or bees building a hive, ants building ant hills, and so forth. And I liked this concept, and I decided that it works really well thinking about humans and human ecology. And so I created an idea called positive niche construction, which is putting together some environmental supports, both inner and outer, that maximize a person's strengths and minimize their difficulties. And it seems to me that this schema works very well for neurodivergent individuals who often are spending all their time trying to fit in to those around them. But this approach suggests that instead, or at least some of the time, we ought to take the world and make it fit into a neurodivergent person's strengths and abilities. So this idea of positive niche construction consists of 8 components. And in other videos, I go into those other components, but in this particular video, I'm going to focus on one of them: positive career aspirations. I think this is particularly important for neurodivergent individuals because people who work with neurodivergent people often worry, for example, the parents of a older child or a teenager or young adult worry about what's going to happen to them when they're on their own, or if they can be on their own. And so thinking about careers years in advance, I think, is an important feature that really ought to be part of our schools, part of our parenting, really thinking about careers that match the strengths of a neurodivergent individual. And in this particular video, I'm going to focus on dyslexia and what I think are some good matches. If you have been diagnosed with dyslexia, looking at your strengths and how the careers out there may or may not match your strengths. So one of the overarching strengths of people with dyslexia seems to be three-dimensional visual-spatial skills. The ability to see space in 3 dimensions, essentially, both in your mind and your imagination, and also to work with 3 dimensions outside of yourself. So in terms of careers, working with computers, for example, it might be best not so much to work with words and computers, like word processing, as much as work with images, with computer-aided design, with designing web pages and other tasks that involve, structurally understanding buildings or machines or cars, whatever it is that you're designing or developing. And being a mechanic or a machinist may also be a good career option because of the ability to get your mind into a machine, essentially, and figure out how to fix it. I don't know if you remember those old tests that they used to give in elementary school, which would show gears moving in one direction, and then you'd have to look and see what another gear, how that one would turn in relationship to the first one. And I always did really badly on those, but there were kids in my class who, weren't doing that well, who did really well in that particular subsection of the test. And my sense is they were people with good mechanical reasoning, with good three-dimensional imagery abilities. So a mechanic might be an option. An architect would be another good one that requires thinking in 3 dimensions. In fact, many architects have said that they didn't do well in school, and when they needed help with math or words, they hired somebody to do that for them so that they could use their imagination to best effect. A city planner might be another possibility as well. Also, there's a wide range of fields in the sciences that involve three-dimensional spatial ability, many more now than existed 50 years ago. Take genetics, for example. Genetics is based upon the DNA double helix model, which is a three-dimensional model. So the ability to see that in 3 dimensions can be very helpful to your career. Molecular biologists would be another, to see these molecules not in 2 dimensions, but in 3 dimensions as they really are. Another gift that dyslexics often have is holistic perception. They can see things in a undefined way. They can get more information, let's say, from what are to other people fuzzy information platforms. I'll give you an example. Being an X-ray technician or being a radiologist, you're looking at this information which is not all clear. It's not all defined in sharp lines. It's fuzzy data. And dyslexic people are good with fuzzy data. They're good at interpreting it. So a career in radiology might be a really good move. Cosmology might be another move, or astronomy, where you're looking at fuzzy imagery in the cosmos and being able to see in that imagery things that neurotypical people can't see. There's a whole set of other careers that depend upon fuzzy data in terms of cells and cellular biology, being a histologist, being a technician that works with cells, a pathologist, and as I said, a cellular biologist. Those are all places where you're looking at, again, it's not cut into squares and sharp lines, but it requires interpreting fuzzy data or unclear information where you grasp something more intuitively as well as obviously through your technical education. Another area of strength for people with dyslexia are entrepreneurial skills. They are good in terms of developing their own business, as opposed to working for somebody else and having to march to their particular drum. So for example, setting up your own store and selling things might be one avenue where you manage the business, you hire your employees and so forth. Or you may be more of an artisan. So you want to build things and then sell them maybe at craft fairs or something like that. Or it could take a more corporate shape. You might be a person with a great idea and you want to go to a bunch of venture capitalists and pitch an idea that no one else has had. So that's something that dyslexics can do. They can think of ideas that no one else has done. That's why so many of these CEOs like Charles Schwab and Richard Branson and Ted Turner, they all had dyslexia, and they all credit in some ways their dyslexic powers of intuition for being able to do what they do, to come up with ideas. I mean, Ted Turner, nobody thought of having a news channel that showed 24/7. That was an entirely new concept. Now we take it for granted, but he saw the idea. And so that's pitching ideas might be a good career and possibly a very lucrative one. Another strength is futuristic inclinations. Um, we don't really, it's funny, we don't really value in school at all, I don't think we value at all, the ability to predict futures. I don't think there's any courses anywhere in future prediction, maybe in graduate school. But think about how important that is, being able to predict things. So, for example, if you're a stock market trader, being able to see where the market is heading, being able to predict that, being a day trader, perhaps working for yourself, or being a market analyst working for a company, where people value you because you have a sense of where the market is going that other people don't have. Or it could be as a marketing person who samples people's opinions about what kind of clothes they like to wear, what kind of toys they like to play with, cars they like to buy, and uses that information to predict trends. What are people going to want 5 years from now? Because it's going to take us 5 years to build or create whatever it is, and we don't want to be wrong. So that futuristic ability is a very important skill in society. Also inventors. I think inventing is a good career for dyslexics. Um, it's it's nothing you can train for. Well, that's not true. I think they do have inventing academies, and you can obviously train in various mechanical skills, for example, or electronic skills that will give you a basis for inventing. But the inventor, again, is someone who sees something that no one else sees. He sees, hey, they don't have a way of doing this in the world, and I've got a way that they can do this, and I've been working on this invention. And so this also makes use of those futuristic predilections that dyslexics have. And then finally, many dyslexics also have artistic ability. Um, They may be drawers early on, or they may be people who loved as children to work with wooden blocks or other three-dimensional shapes, or love to paint or work with clay, etc. So something in the arts may be a good choice. So for example, visual arts might be a good way of going about it. This is not something that is an easy way in. One has to work hard and eventually be discovered um, either by a gallery owner or by customers who will start to buy your work. I've known several artists who have not done so well, so you can't always say that this is an instant ticket, but it can bring a lot of satisfaction. And one can do this, as some of my artistic friends did, while they pursued more conventional careers. They had their artist careers as what they lived off of emotionally. And so this is an area to look at as well. Uh, Conceptual art may also be a possibility for people. Let's say I can't draw, but I have a great idea for putting together a bunch of, spheres and panes of glass and et cetera, et cetera. So that is another area. And performance art also is a possibility where you create a performance, you sort of bring together theater and visual arts, and possibly even there's something very sculptured about this a particular piece. So you can bring together several of the arts being interdisciplinary. I think people who are dyslexic tend to be more interdisciplinary rather than following the sharp contours of each discipline. Um, because most of them did not have good experiences in school, which are structured in this very disciplinary way. And they long to break out of that, and the arts gives them a chance to do that. So that's a little bit about positive career matches for people who are diagnosed with dyslexia. I hope you got some ideas from this. I hope you get my book, The Power of Neurodiversity, where I go into more detail about the strengths of people with dyslexia and their career matches, as well as a wide number of other things. And so I hope you get the book and share it with your families, your teachers, your therapists, your employers or employees. You can sign up for my blog posts by going to my website, which is www.institute4learning.com. That's institute4learning.com. And put your email in the square there, and you will get a 200-item neurodiversity strengths checklist, which is from my book, but available to you at no cost, just by allowing me to add your name to my email list and receive information about neurodiversity as I go through the videos that I'm creating and do other blogs on that and related topics. So thanks again for listening and for watching. I hope the information was useful to you, and I hope that wherever you are, you will celebrate neurodiversity and support the lives of neurodivergent individuals everywhere. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.